this week, there's quite a lot to report. The first thing, in fact, I've had some very interesting occurrences over the last week. We'll start with the News of Time Now well again, which is good. But this week I have been travelling in and out of work by bus, obviously to sort of get back into the swing of things and take things a little bit easier. Now, on one of the days when I was coming home from work, the bus pulled out of the bus station, and every time we went to a red light and stopped, the bus would sort of stutter, and then all the lights would go out and we'd stall. And the guy said, look, the emergency brake keeps coming on, and it was taking him quite some time to get it off. So by the time we reached Victoria Avenue, which isn't actually that far from the station at all, we'd stopped 3 times and we pulled up by West Park Church and it cut out completely, and this time he just couldn't get it started again. So he made a call and bus number 2 turned up. Now, bus number 2 pulled alongside the first bus, so we had blocked both lanes of Victoria Avenue onto Parliament Street. Now, Parliament Street has a huge hill on it, and none of us were looking forward to going down the hill in bus number 1, because it could cut out at any time, and you know, we didn't particularly want to have stall in the middle of one of Harrogate's very steep hills. So we all got off bus number 1 and went on to bus number 2. And there was quite a lot of pressure on the bus driver to get moving, because obviously the people behind were beginning to sort of pile up, and he had to pull out and round bus number 1 and onto Parliament Street. And I sat near the back of the bus at by the window. And as we were going, there was this loud noise, and the window next to me exploded. Well, not quite exploded, but it sort of shattered. Now, because it's safety glass, it's actually sort of more like plastic. So I sort of got covered in all these little plastic bits, and as we sort of pulled out, this window basically fell apart. I've never experienced anything like it. It's the sort of, you know, where you can see the cracks spreading and getting larger and larger, like sometimes you can on films. Well, it were a bit like that. So he stopped outside Betty's at the top of Parliament Hill, and we called for a 3rd bus. And everybody was like, ah, by that time. And what had happened was, as he was pulling out of the Victoria Avenue, he'd accidentally caught the huge wing mirror on the side of the first bus, and that's what had smashed the window. So thankfully we got onto the 3rd bus and made it all the way home, and we were fine. But it was one of those sort of situations where, honestly, the poor bus driver, I mean, everything we touched, you know, fell apart. In that vein, the day after, something very, very exciting happened as well, and that is that I was minding my own business at about sort of 8 o'clock at night, and there was this rather loud bang, and what sounded like fireworks sort of going off. So I opened my back door, and I could see this pillar of smoke going up, and I thought, oh, that doesn't look good. And it was sort of coming from the direction of Skipton Road, which is a very busy road, and I thought, you know, there's obviously been some sort of accident. So off I went down to have a look, and there was the most enormous fire I think I've ever seen. There were about 3 fire engines, 1 ambulance and 1 police van already on the scene. And what had happened was, this 15-year-old guy, I don't know his name, I don't really know where he lives, except he lives somewhere around there, obviously, had decided that since his parents had gone on holiday or something, he would take the car for a spin. Now, he reversed the car into an electricity substation. It was a small substation, thank God, but nevertheless, what we think probably happened is he was ready to go forward but had accidentally put the car into reverse, hit the accelerator, and of course shot backwards straight into this electricity pylon. Now, obviously it didn't go off straight away because he was able to get out, and you could already hear sirens on their way by the time the thing exploded. So he's very lucky that A, he went in backwards and could get out, and B, he didn't go in forwards and the thing explode straight away, otherwise he would have been absolutely killed, no doubt about it. The whole thing went up, absolutely in flames, just sort of exploded, and that's sort of what I heard. Obviously, people round that area lost power completely, and I don't know if they've got power now. I do know that the next day when I was walking to work very early in the morning at about 5 o'clock, there was still lots of action around there with the company trying to get the power back on and trying to rebuild this substation. So I wasn't affected by the power loss, I'm pleased to say, although you would think that I should have been, considering how close I was to it. But so those two exciting things have dominated this week, really. It's been a good week. Obviously, I've recovered, and I'm ready to sort of start walking and going back to the gym next week, which will be good. There's not really a lot to report outside of that, except for you'll no doubt have heard that this week was the centenary of the sinking of the Titanic, and that's been going on sort of all week. It's interesting because unfortunately the real interest in the Titanic happened with, you know, the films and the movies that came out 15 years ago, which was a little bit too early. And of course the other thing is that with it being the centenary, of course now there is nobody alive who even survived the sinking. They're all dead now, so basically it's just a case of the relatives getting together. I know that on the news they've been sending out a ship back to the wreck site full of people who were basically the offspring of those who survived. It is an important point to remember, but it's kind of been done to death, really, a little bit on the television and stuff like that. But I thought I'd mention that. And the final point is that Jens the Budgie seems to be unwell. We think that it's probably some sort of respiratory or chest infection. He's not as yet close to death's door. He's still sort of perching, he's still sort of eating, but he is unwell, and what we're going to try and do is obviously get him to the vets and get antibiotics, and he should be okay. The chances are this is a sort of reaction to having, you know, been inside for 3 years and then been put out in the aviary. He is sort of making high-pitched sneezing noises. He is finding it hard to fly. The problem with the vets is that it's Sunday, and I only really sort of noticed it today, and I'm hoping that I can get straight into the vets tomorrow. Otherwise it might be a little bit difficult to get him to the vets quickly. So we'll keep you up to date on how that goes. At the moment, like I say, not an immediate concern. He's not an emergency yet, but it is worth noting that he is now unwell, and we need to get that sorted out. And that really is my blog for you this week. Now, there are a number of things I forgot to mention at Arthington, so as I'm walking home I thought I would go ahead and mention them now. They include, to say, I did exceptionally well in my UFC Sweden picks, and you can see my recap for that up shortly, along with the next UFC predictions video. Also, to send my congratulations to Jens Pulver, who won his fight by decision yesterday, and to send my commiserations to Levon Maynard, who didn't win his battle. I'm sure that there will be many more victories in his future, though. Just to let you know, I am now thinking of going to the MMA Show Live event, Fan Expo in Birmingham next month if possible, and I've decided to put off buying Attila the Hen yes, I've decided that there just simply is not enough room, and that to use the rest of my garden for that, back garden for that, would be to basically have battery hens, and I don't want that. So the plan is possibly to buy a cat, maybe in time for our autumn holidays this year. In case you didn't know, the priority spending over the last couple of weeks has been on buying trees for my garden, my back garden, to put down the fence between me and the rented house next door. I've got so far a magnolia, a creeper, honeysuckle, and that's along with my Helleborus orientalis and my 2 zucca plants, which I'm probably going to transplant into a main pot and put into the front garden on the patio when that's been terraced. In the next couple of weeks, my focus for priority spending will be to get frames for all my autographs, my MMA autographs, which I am actually going to put up framed on the wall very shortly. And one last thing, I'm back with the Phantom Me.